Hi, welcome back to Movies Within channel. Today we are going to see a science fiction, action, thriller movie called Inception. A tired and weary young man washes up on a beach, gazing up to see two little children playing in the sand before passing asleep. An armed guard finds him and brings him to a big coastal palace where the proprietor, an elderly Japanese man, is informed. A revolver and a brass top were found on him. He's brought in and given food, which he fights to eat as the old man says, "You remind me of a man from a distant dream. He had some extreme ideas." As the scene alters, the stranger glances up. Dom Cobb and Arthur discuss their services with a potential client, Saito, in an eerily similar dining room. Cobb adds that while sleeping, one's mind is exposed to attack, therefore he can unconsciously educate Saito's mind to guard against extractors. He proves his claim by admitting he is the best extractor and knows all the tricks. Saito remains skeptical and departs the room. Arthur says he knows, as the room shakes. Cobb is looking suspicious. Arthur points to a woman nearby and asks Cobb what she's doing here. Cobb assures him he'll handle it and continues with the job. The woman asks Cobb whether he misses her. He says he does but can't trust her. Cobb attaches a rope to a chair leg and throws the end out the window. He then rappels out the window and nearly falls when Ma gets up. He enters the room below and opens the safe, replacing the manila document inside as the room's lights come on. He turns to see Ma brandishing a gun at him, Saito, and a guard restraining Arthur. Cobb asks Saito whether he's heard from her. "Are you here to steal from me, or are we actually asleep?" Saito asks. The three of them are connected up to a passive, portable automated somnacin intravenous machine that keeps them all sleeping and allows dream sharing. Naz, another Cobb associate, keeps an eye on them. He checks on Saito, who is on a bed, before checking on Arthur and Cobb, who are both asleep in chairs. Cobb's chair is above a bathtub. Explosions and screams outside become louder as a rioting throng approaches. In the dream, Ma points her rifle at Arthur, but Cobb tells her not to worry, and passes the manila folder to Saito. Ma agrees, but she shoots Arthur in the knee, causing him to scream. Cobb dives over the table, retrieves his rifle, and shoots Arthur. Then he sprints out of the room, dodging Saito's men. Cobb has time to finish the job before Arthur wakes up and tells Nash that things are coming apart. Saito hastily opens the manila folder as the dream crumbles and finds blank sheets inside. Cobb sneaks away to look at the contents of the true folder he'd stashed in his jacket, as the building crumbles around him. As Arthur reaches under his pillow, Saito is crushed by debris and awakens in the apartment. Arthur urges Nash to kick Cobb into the tub and he wakes up to tremendous waves crashing through the glass. Saito grabs Arthur but is subdued by Cobb, who tells him that the file he stole didn't include all the information he wanted. Saito chuckles and says he had all the information in the file because he was aware of Cobb's ploy. He let Cobb and Arthur into his mind for an audition, which they failed. Cobb tosses Saito to the ground and demands he tells them everything they need to know about his expansion plans. Saito laughs again, pressing his face into the carpet, and reveals that the carpet is intended to be wool, not polyester. So he concludes he is still asleep. They are all asleep in a train car, watched over by a young man named Tadashi who monitors the time remaining on the passive device. He puts headphones on Nash and plays music to remind them about their time limit. Nash can hear music playing in his dream. Meanwhile, Saito praises Cobb for inventing a dream within a dream but is puzzled by his inability to control it. They're in Nash's dream, not Saito's. Suddenly, a mob bursts in and attacks everyone in the room. Arthur, Nash, and Cobb wake up on the train. Cobb chastises Nash, the dream's architect, for misdesigning the carpet and then leaves, telling them every man for himself. Tadashi, who has regained a casual attitude, yet smiles cynically to himself, awakens Saito up moments later. Cobb spins his brass top in his apartment, pointing his revolver at his temple. He sighs and puts down the rifle when it falls. When his phone rings, he answers it to find his children, James and Philippa, talking to their grandmother. When James asks if their mother is with him, Cobb pauses and says, "Mommy's not here anymore." Arthur arrives and informs Cobb they're on the roof. Cobb flees to Buenos Aires to hide after their botched assignment for Cobalt, while Arthur returns home. Cobb tells him to send his regards as they open the aircraft door to find Nash and Saito waiting. But Saito has other interests than Nash, selling out Cobb and Arthur for his own protection. He offers Cobb the position of performing Inception for him, which Arthur denies. Cobb argues it's not impossible but exceedingly difficult because it entails planting rather than extracting an idea. Saito then asks him if he wants to go home to his children in America. He promises Cobb that if he succeeds, all he has to do is call and the charges against him would be withdrawn. Cobb, desperate to Arthur's chagrin, accepts. Cobb travels to Paris to meet his father-in-law, Miles, a university lecturer who taught Cobb and Moll about dream sharing and dream design. Cobb asks Miles for a decent architect, and Miles recommends someone better. Cobb challenges Ariadne, one of his graduate students, to design a maze that takes 1 minute to make and 2 minutes to solve. Cobb informs her more about his job and what she needs to do when she impresses him. While Cobb and his crew work, she will develop dreams and virtual mazes for the subconscious to explore. Cobb tells Ariadne they're in a dream while they converse outside a cafe. As Ariadne realizes this, her dream violently crashes. When they wake up, Ariadne finds them in Arthur's warehouse workshop. Arthur tells Ariadne they were just under 5 minutes when it felt like hours. Cobb says that because the mind works faster in a dream, time slows. They sync again, and Ariadne is able to change the dream's physics. Her architectural marvels pull the dream's characters, subconscious projections of Cobb's, to the intruder, Ariadne. Cobb understands Ariadne's error and his subconscious reacts as a mob, separating Ariadne from Cobb until Moll appears and stabs her. Cobb flees to the bathroom as Arthur says that Cobb's subconscious became aware of her as an invasive entity and she couldn't wake up immediately since time was running out. She could only wake up if she died. Cobb flips his top, sighing as it topples. Ariadne storms out of the warehouse, unable to trust Cobb's innermost thoughts. Cobb enters the room and promises Arthur that she will return, but he has to go to Mombasa to see an old acquaintance. He meets Eames at a bar and offers him a job as a forger/imitator. On the way to the bar, Eames points out 2 individuals who are tailing Cobb. Cobb identifies them as Cobalt thugs out to get him for the botched Saito job. Cobb flees, sending the thugs on a frantic chase through the city streets. Saito arrives in a limousine and picks up Cobb. He says he's tracing Cobb to safeguard his money. Eames takes them to a local chemist who works with some Nassan and could help their squad. Cobb reveals to Yusuf that his profession may require a 3-layered dream. Yusuf claims that this would be impossible without a unique remedy he's devised using a heavy sedative. Yusuf takes them downstairs to witness scores of men sleeping under the watchful eye of an old man. He informs Cobb that these men have come to wake up. The sedative helps people sleep deeply and comfortably, allowing them to dream for long periods of time. Cobb tries the sedative himself and is impressed, though startled, by the effects. He persuades Yusuf to join him. The architect-dreamer Ariadne returns to the workshop, telling Arthur she intended to stay away but couldn't resist the pure creativity. Arthur takes her into a dream and reveals the Penrose steps. He also says Moll, Cobb's wife, died. Despite Mal's evil disposition in the nightmares, Arthur tells Ariadne she was gorgeous in real life. The team plans to build a 3-level dream with the planted idea on the 3rd level. Robert Fisher, CEO and heir of Fisher Morrow, is the target. Saito wants to prevent Mr. Fisher's company from controlling the energy supply of the world. Eames targets Robert's godfather and business partner, Peter Browning, to better understand the relationship with his father. The team concludes that a positive notion will beat a negative one: my father wants me to be my own man. Saito supervises most of the planning and decides to join the team into the dreams as a tourist. As the team prepares, Cobb teaches Ariadne about totems, little personal things that help people distinguish between dreams and reality. His totem is his top, which falls over in reality but spins in dreams. Arthur's is a loaded die, so he tells Ariadne to make one for herself that only she can touch. Her totem is a semi-hollowed bishop chess piece. To maximize time, the crew plans, with Saito's help, to work on a Boeing 747 during a 10-hour journey from Europe to Los Angeles. This gives them a week in the dream stage. Saito claims he's bought the whole airline, saving time and money by not having to buy certain components of the jet. After a long day of planning, Ariadne finds Cobb alone in the workshop. She connects herself to his equipment and finds herself in an elevator. She sees Cobb in a living room with Moll, who notices Ariadne. After a while, Ariadne realizes that the levels are all memories, and Cobb follows her on the elevator, something he told her not to do. Ariadne rides the elevator alone to the last level when she sees a hotel room with its stuff strewn on the floor. She steps on some shattered glass, and Moll asks her why she's here. Maul grows protective and picks up a shard of glass, despite Ariadne's best efforts. Cobb returns Ariadne to the elevator as Maul comes forward, yelling at Cobb for breaking his vow. Cobb reveals that he can't go home because Maul died and it was assumed he killed her. Saito and Arthur arrive and inform Maurice Fisher's death, with Robert accompanying the body to the States in a few days. The team boards the plane and sits with Robert in first class. Cobb restores Robert's passport, which Arthur had stolen, and then poisons his water before proposing a toast to his father. Robert falls asleep quickly, and the paid-off flight attendant helps set up and activate the passive. Together, the crew enters Yusuf's dream. It's raining fiercely at NYC as the team is picked up. In the guise of a kidnapping, Arthur and Saito seize a taxi, pick up Robert and Eames. Cobb and Ariadne are in a separate car when a train slams into them, halting them. The taxi is attacked by shooters and Arthur, Saito and Eames return the fire. They protect Robert but Saito is shot in the chest. In an attempt to escape, the team hides in a warehouse. Robert is led away as Saito is placed on a table. Cobb prevents Eames from shooting him and says that due to the sedatives they've taken, they won't wake up if they die. The squad is enraged, questioning why they took such a risk, as the military closes in on their location. That the projections attacking them are part of Robert's subconscious resistance against extraction. Because Saito's condition is deteriorating and the defense forecasts are nearing, the crew chooses to finish the work as soon as can. Ariadne confronts Cobb about his subconscious control, and he admits he can't get Maul out of his thoughts. He tells her they were experimenting with dream states to explore how deep their subconscious could go. They were stuck in limbo together, unable to depart due to their passive clocks. They rebuilt their lives over years. After a while, they began to accept limbo as reality. Cobb and Maul killed themselves on railway tracks after 50 years to bring them back to reality. Maul believed she was still dreaming and that dying was the only way to wake up, but she couldn't leave without Cobb. She loved him too much. Cobb returned to their usual hotel room on their anniversary to find it wrecked and the window open. It was Maul who revealed to Cobb that she had sent their attorney a letter professing her concern for her life, effectively framing him in the case of her death and forcing him to join her. Cobb refuses to jump and tries to reason with Maul, but she ignores him and dies. The evidence against Cobb trumps her legal sanity declaration by 3 psychiatrists. Cobb quits the country, leaving his children with their grandma. To focus on the objective, Ariadne tries to convince Cobb that Mal's death was not his fault. Cobb and Arthur question Robert, asking to know the combination to his father's safe. They use Browning to squeeze Robert. He tells them random numbers before they put him in a van and drug him. Yusuf drives the van away from the pursuing projections as they all enter the dream's second level. In Arthur's dream, Cobb decides to use Mr. Charles, a means of gaining trust by revealing that the target is dreaming. He meets Robert at a pub and tells him he is there to defend him from a mind reader. He calms Robert and convinces him that he is dreaming by presenting the oddity of their surroundings. He reminds Robert that he's been kidnapped and leads him to a hotel room where the rest of the squad regroups. Cobb persuades Robert that Browning kidnapped him by questioning if he saw Browning being tortured by the kidnappers in his previous sleep level. Robert's second testament permitted him to ruin his father's empire, which Browning could not let him do. Cobb recommends they infiltrate Browning's dreams to discover what's truly in the safe so Robert can decide. And so the crew is reunited, this time with Arthur staying behind to keep an eye on them and administer a synchronized kick when the time comes. As the crew enters Robert's third dream, Arthur is forced to battle against more of Robert's defensive projections, while Yusuf drives the vehicle in the first dream. Robert's safe is closely guarded in a mountainside fort in the third dream. Assemble in twos to elude the guards. Robert and Saito begin scaling a slope to access a blind flank of the fort. This level of the dream is better for Saito, but he soon coughs. As Arthur battles off Robert's images, the environment around him spins as gravity reverses and then right itself. As Yusuf drives, he is cornered on an elevated bridge by a car full of projections. Before driving backwards down the bridge, Yusuf blasts music through Arthur's headphones. The force sends Arthur soaring in his dream, and as the van plummets in midair, Arthur loses gravity. The impact extends to the dream's third level. An avalanche forces Saito and Robert to cut their ropes. Cobb understands they've missed the first kick. A van drives off the bridge. 3 minutes to sink the kick. Arthur ponders how to do it without gravity. Third dream, 60 minutes. With little time remaining, Cobb asks Ariadne whether there is another way into the fort, and she admits that Robert and Saito can use a secret underground door. Cobb sends them there as Saito's condition worsens. They ultimately enter the main chamber, where the safe is hidden from Cobb and Ariadne's view. Saito collapses, coughing blood, as Robert advances. But another individual enters Cobb's view as Robert does. Mal shoots Robert from the ceiling before Cobb realizes his mistake and shoots her. Cobb and Ariadne run to the scene as Eames enters. Cobb declares the expedition a failure after finding Robert dead in limbo. He is persuaded to travel into limbo by Ariadne so they can find Robert and bring him back. While Cobb and Ariadne are unconscious, Eames agrees to use a defibrillator to help Robert. In Dream Level 2, Arthur hatches a novel plan. He binds the team with phone cables and takes them up on the elevator. He loads the car with explosives and waits until the kick to use explosive force to create gravity and initiate a kick. Cobb and Ariadne tour the crumbling world Cobb and Mal created. They pass by old houses and structures before finding Cobb's. In order to find Robert, they'll first need to find Mal. Cobb knows she would be in the apartment. Mal greets them and again tries to persuade Cobb that he belongs with her and their children, but he discloses a dreadful truth. Mal believed her dreams were real. Mal had hidden a fact from herself while they were in limbo, her totem, placed within her safe, lying on its side, immovable, reminding her that her dream, her limbo, was reality. Cobb broke into her safe and twisted the top to convince her this reality was not real. But he had no idea that once they were awake, she would believe it. He knew Inception worked because he tried it on Mal first, and his remorse over her death has followed him ever then. He says Mal he'll stay with her if she tells him where Robert is. Ariadne finds him and kicks him off. With Eames' help, Robert awakens on Dream Level 3 and opens his own safe, revealing an image of his dying father. Robert acknowledges his father's disappointment that he couldn't be like him, but Maurice responds, "No. I was disappointed that you tried." A cupboard holds the will, and a paper fan Robert's father fashioned for him as a boy. Robert breaks down when the van hits the sea, seeing his father has died. Dream 2, Arthur hits the detonator, forcing the elevator down, producing artificial gravity. In Dream 3, Eames's blasts rock the fort, causing it to collapse. In limbo, Ariadne beckons for Cobb to join her. Cobb says he'll wait but not with Mal. Saito had died and joined limbo by this point. Cobb pledges to find him. Ariadne jumps from the building and kicks back to Dream 1. Robert awakens in the submerged vehicle with Browning. Arthur, Ariadne, and Yusuf exchange an oxygen tank before departing Cobb. Once on land, Robert explains that his father truly wanted him to be his own man, and that he will achieve just that by liquidating his father's company. Eames lowers the Browning mask, the mission complete. Cobb washes up on the armed guard's coastline. The old Japanese man recognizes his brass top. Cobb recalls his mission and phones Saito, inviting him to return with him. Saito grabs Cobb's gun. When Cobb wakes up on the plane, Arthur and Ariadne are beaming at him. He recalls Saito, who picks up his phone and dials. Cobb is nervously walking through customs in Los Angeles, where security checks his passport but lets him pass, welcome him home. Cobb walks past the squad and Robert, who pauses as though recalling a dream. Cobb hears Miles beckoning him over. Cobb pulls out his brass top as they drive home together. He spins it on the kitchen table as his kids approach the back door. He dashes to them, delighted to see their faces again, as the top spins and wobbles. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more awesome content. Stay safe and see you on the next one.